dive into this really interesting question
Okay.
we found in some of our source material.
Right.
And it's kind of about like the whole, is Christianity like a religion, or is it something more than a religion?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the source material is actually kind of a response to a scholar who says that God has no religion.
Interesting.
So we're going to kind of dig into that and look at what this response has to say about the difference between what we think of as religion, you know, like the structured, organized thing, and what Jesus actually taught.
It's a great question to start with, I think, because it makes you really think about, like, okay, so there's this concept of God that might be totally outside of any human-made structures like religion.
Right.
But we as humans,
Yeah.
we need something to help us understand that and connect with it.
Absolutely. It's like we need a map to get through this territory.
Exactly.
We don't really, fully grasp.
You need some kind of framework to even wrap your head around it.
Yeah, and our source even mentions that throughout history, there have always been these really powerful figures that pop up, claiming to be creators, messengers of the divine.
Messengers, or even gods themselves.
Right, and they actually name some examples, like, from ancient Greek mythology. You've got Zeus and the Olympians.
Of course, Or
the Egyptian pantheon with Ra and Osiris.
Right, all powerful figures who end up being the center of whole belief systems and religions.
Right.
But what's really interesting to me is this idea that the source material puts forward, that some of these entities might not have had humanity's best interests at heart.
Hold on.
Like, they might have even misled people on purpose to build up these religions that ultimately serve their own agendas.
A mind bender.
Yes.
So, like, if we're saying that some of these powerful beings are misleading us, where does Jesus fit into all of this?
Well, that's where the source makes this really important distinction.
Go.
It argues that Jesus didn't come to start another religion.
Okay.
He came to reveal a way to God. That's more about an interpersonal connection than any outward rituals or structures.
Yeah, but that's kind of a contradiction, isn't it? Because didn't Jesus preach in synagogues and participate in all the Jewish traditions?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And the source does acknowledge that.
Okay.
It points out that Jesus wasn't a Christian in the way that we understand it now.
Right.
And he didn't necessarily follow every single rule and practice of Judaism.
Right.
The text even says that.
Yeah.
A lot of Christians today wouldn't even feel comfortable going to certain churches.
Yeah.
Just to illustrate the difference between the spiritual church,
Yeah.
which is all about having that relationship with God,
Right.
and the actual physical building of a church.
So it's like the building itself doesn't define the faith.
It's not about that outward appearance.
Right. And the source emphasizes that any building, like a physical church building, that was created by people.
It was created by people.
So the human
that means it had human imperfections.
Right. So there's that human element.
There's that human element.
That can kind of get in the way.
Yeah. And they even use the example of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
That inner presence of God as the ultimate symbol of true connection versus,
versus all the
outward displays of organized religion.
The outward stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes sense. But then the source also acknowledges that the way Christianity is practiced today does involve rituals.
It does.
Ceremonies.
Yeah.
And even like lifestyles.
Yeah.
Similar to other religions.
Right.
So are we back to square one then? Like, is it a religion or not?
I think that's the point the source is trying to make.
Okay.
It's not an easy answer.
It's not.
You can't just say yes or no.
Right.
Because Christianity, as it's practiced by billions of people around the world today, does have a lot of things in common with other religions.
Yeah.
But at its core, at least as it was presented by Jesus.
Okay.
It's more about that one-on-one connection with God than just the
nuance, than
just the outward practice.
A label. Exactly.
Yeah.
But if Jesus's teachings were all about this inner connection with God, how did Christianity get to be so focused on all of this?
That's a great question.
Outward stuff.
It's a big leap to go from just your own personal spirituality to this big organized religion. Like, what happened there?
Right.
It really makes you think about all the historical and social things that must have influenced Christianity as it developed. Like, how about when the Roman Empire adopted Christianity?
Right.
How did that affect things? Or how did all these different denominations with their different interpretations and practices even come about.
Yeah, that's a whole other deep dive right there.
So much to think about.
A lot to unpack.
Yeah. So for all of you listening, here's something to consider.
Okay.
If Jesus's teachings were really about that personal interconnection with God, what caused this shift to the outward practices we see in Christianity today?
Yeah, why?
How did that happen?
How did that shift happen?
It really makes you think about how religion evolves over time.
Absolutely it does.
And what shapes it.
Yeah. What are those influences?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing this up.
Yeah, of course.
It's great.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.
For another deep dive. Bye.